Two title fights went down on April 9th, 2022 at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida, and by the end of the night, two champions would have successfully defended their titles. The event also featured an exciting matchup between the number 2 ranked welterweight contender Gilbert Burns and number 11 Khamzat Chimaev. Welcome to MMA Money, where I break down purses and bonuses for MMA events and fighters. Today I'll be looking at the main card of UFC 273 Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie. The fight was originally intended to be the third in a trilogy between Volkanovski and the former champ Max Holloway. Unfortunately, Max aggravated an injury and had to pull out of the fight. Number 5 ranked Jung was coming off a win and available for the fight and stepped in as a replacement. Before I jump into the video, I just wanted to quickly say thanks to my first 100 subscribers. It might not seem like much, but I'm very grateful and a little surprised that people actually watch the videos. With that, let's take a look at the first fight. The main card started off with a lightweight bout between the undefeated Madsen and Vinc Pichel. It was a back and forth first 2 rounds, but Madsen sealed the victory with his smothering ground control in the third and would end up taking the unanimous decision win. With the loss, Pichel took home $40,000 guaranteed and $6,000 in fight week incentive pay for a total of $46,000. Meanwhile, Madsen made $19,000 to show, as well as a $19,000 win bonus and $4,500 in fight week incentive, bringing his total to $42,500. The second fight of the main card was a strawweight bout between number 7 ranked Tecia Torres and number 5 MacKenzie Dern. Overall, it was a very close fight. Dern threatened with some impressive submission attempts in the second round, but Torres was able to survive. It came down to a split decision after 3 rounds, and ultimately MacKenzie Dern would get the win. On the night, Torres earned $58,000 to show, $11,000 in fight week incentive, for $69,000 in total pay. Meanwhile, MacKenzie Dern secured $65,000 to show, $65,000 for the win, $6,000 in fight week incentive, for a total of $136,000. The third fight was a welterweight bout between one of the most hyped fighters in the UFC, Khamzat Chimaev, and number 2 ranked Gilbert Burns, and boy was it spectacular. Chimaev was truly tested for the first time in the UFC in a back and forth fight that for the most part stayed on the feet and left both men bruised and bloodied by the end. It somehow lasted all 3 rounds, and the decision went 29-28 on all 3 scorecards for Chimaev. You gotta give it to Burns though for taking the fight. It was a big risk, but I can't imagine that anyone lost a bit of respect for him after that performance. While Burns lost the decision, UFC President Dana White said in the post-fight press conference that he was so impressed by the performance that along with his guaranteed money of $110,000, Burns would also receive a win bonus regardless. He also earned $16,000 in fight week incentive pay and the $50,000 fight of the night bonus for a total of $286,000. Meanwhile, Chimaev made $75,000 to show, another $75,000 for the win, $4,500 in fight week incentive pay, the $50,000 fight of the night bonus, and the inaugural Crypto.com fan bonus of $30,000, which will be paid out in Bitcoin, for a total on the night of $234,500. On to the co-main event, which saw the current interim bantamweight champion Petr take on the defending champ Aljamain Sterling. Sterling was able to control Jan on the ground in rounds 2 and 3, and it appeared that Jan took 4 and 5 with his striking. It all came down to how the judges scored the first round, and the result was a split decision that went to Sterling, which I'm sure will do nothing to settle the controversial rivalry between the two. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them fight again at some point in the future. Jan took home $180,000 to show, $32,000 in fight week incentive. He would get 3rd place in the voting for the Crypto.com bonus for another $10,000. And finally, Sterling mentioned in the post-fight press conference that both he and Petr received pay-per-view points for this fight. The numbers haven't been released, but it was a pretty stacked card, and the UFC reportedly hoped it could reach up to 1 million pay-per-view buys. I put it at $750,000 for the sake of this estimate, and without knowing how their contracts are structured, I also went conservative with the revenue share and gave Jan about 33 cents per buy for another $250,000. That said, his total on the night comes out to $472,000. And the winner, Aljamain Sterling, earned $300,000 guaranteed, $42,000 in fight week incentive, I gave Aljo a slight jump in the pay-per-view share at 50 cents per buy, which comes out to $375,000, bringing his total to $717,000. And finally, the main event of the evening, Chan Sung Jung, aka the Korean Zombie, took on the undisputed featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski. It was honestly probably the least competitive of the main card fights. Zombie put in a valiant effort, but Volkanovski put on a striking clinic until the fight was stopped early in the 4th round. With the loss, Jung still brought home $400,000 guaranteed, along with $32,000 in fight week incentive pay. And even though he was a replacement for the fight, I assume he still received some of the pay-per-view share. I again went conservative, and just like Petr Yan, I gave Zombie about 33 cents a buy for another $250,000. That brings his total to $682,000. And still, the champion Alexander Volkanovski earned $400,000 to show, $42,000 in fight week incentive, a $50,000 performance in the night bonus, as well as second place in the Crypto.com fan voting for another $20,000, and finally a whopping $750,000 for his share of the pay-per-view revenue, for a grand total of $1,262,000. And that's all for UFC 273. Because the Florida Athletic Commission does not release fighter pay information, the totals I've shown in the video are just estimates based on reports and past earnings. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like to hear about, as well as how I can improve the channel.